Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with round 10 of our F1 Manager 22 career mode. Yes, today we're here back for the British Grand Prix, of course, my home Grand Prix, McLaren's home Grand Prix, even Lando Norris's home Grand Prix as well. There's a lot of home Grand Prix going on this weekend, but of course, if you missed out on the video that went live last week from Canada, would highly recommend going back and checking out. It was a bit of a turning point for us in this F1 Manager series. Now, the first 8 races, they were quite a struggle. We were just slowly getting into the swing of things, but Canada, yeah, really was a fantastic weekend for us as a team, of course. Constructors-wise, we're now just 1 point behind AlphaTauri in P7. We need to try and get P6 at a bare minimum, but, you know, I'd like to still try and finish best of the rest by the end of this first campaign. Drivers' Championship, Lando Norris currently sat in 10th place there. Oscar Piastri gets his first points of the year. Last weekend is now up into P13 as well. So, like I said, you know, we head to Silverstone with quite a bit of momentum behind us. We've got manufacturing completed, we've got designs being completed, we've got aerodynamic testing periods coming to an end, and then new ones beginning. So we are certainly getting into the swing of things, getting into the nitty-gritty with this F1 Manager series. So let's wait and see then. There we go. We have got some new side pods that have been manufactured. I don't think we need to manufacture any more of those at the moment. It just means that we've got a few spare, but we do need some new chassis. So we're running very, very low on the chassis side of things. If we quickly have a look, oh, so we've already got manufacturing on the chassis as well there. Of course, we just had a new upgrade as well come in. So need to quickly check which upgrade that was again on the car. I think it was the all-new side pods. So we could try and get a couple of those done. 10 days that'll take. So it might be that we can get one of them on the car ready for the British Grand Prix this weekend. I mean, the British Grand Prix is just over 1 week away. So yeah, we'll definitely be able to get one of those new side pods then on the car. There, as you can see, manufacturing for the chassis is now all complete. So yeah, we're getting through it. You know, like I said, you know, we're building up some momentum. We're getting used to a few more things once again. We've now got to try and actually manufacture some more car parts, of course, because we've got new development time ready to be used as well. So I mean, I think we've already got some different suspension, different underfloors there. I think we have done an upgrade on every single department so far. So I think we'll do some more side pods then. We'll use a bit more of our time, everything like that. And we'll obviously use quite a few of the wind tunnel hours as well, of course. Got to make sure that we're using everything on F1 Manager, and you can see just how much progress that is going to bring to the team as well. But we'll put a couple of engineers on that. That should take us about a month to do. And yeah, we'll spend another $150,000 on that as well. So like I said, you know, making good progress as we head towards Silverstone. I just quickly as well want to say a massive thank you to all of you for the insane and continued support on the channel. 97k, we've ticked that off. We're getting closer and closer to 98k. I know January is always a really, really quiet month here on F1 YouTube, but you know, as we get back in towards the car reveals, pre-season testing, and of course Bahrain now about 6 weeks away, you know, we're getting back towards it for real life Formula 1. But yeah, I'm going to try and get those new side pods put onto Lando Norris's car ready for the weekend, and let's head out there then to the British Grand Prix.
We're here in legendary Silverstone, where the very first Formula 1 World Championship Grand Prix was held back in 1950. It's a place where every tuft of grass breathes motorsport, and the crowd are already crackling with excitement. Silverstone demands a lot of power from cars, with numerous twists and historic turns. Downforce is going to be a key factor to manage if teams want to succeed here. The season is about halfway through, and it makes me wonder what else is in store for the teams. Well, there's only one way to find out. The weekend begins here.
Right, well, here we are then back at Silverstone, and it's going to be rather British then by the looks of it. We are meant to see some changeable weather conditions throughout the weekend, so things might get quite spicy. I don't know how many free practice ones we're going to end up with in the rain this year, but, you know, the more the merrier, I suppose. Maybe it'll give us a better chance at some point a bit further down the campaign then. But yeah, just going to obviously, as always, make some setup tweaks. We'll get both cars out onto the circuit. Like I said, Lando Norris has got the new upgraded side pods this weekend, so probably will, you know, it gives Oscar Piastri in many ways a good excuse as to why he's often off the pace just a little bit. But yeah, it'll be an interesting test. I've now just got to hope Lando doesn't get absolutely wrecked at the start of the Grand Prix, but both cars will be back on the same next weekend. And I think for the first time this year, we are not the first car out onto the track. Valtteri Bottas got the jump on us. I'm not happy with him. Right, so rain is predicted then quite early on in the session, but it should only last about 10-15 minutes if we're unlucky. So if you have a look, track conditions, you can see, yeah, these are going to actually get quite bad early on. And then hopefully it'll all just dry out again, and we can try and get some valuable laps and data in. Of course, it might actually rain this weekend anyway. But of course, yeah, Oscar very, very confident with the car underneath him. Lando Norris has just got to learn these new side pods. But yeah, we'll see what happens. So here we go then. 15 minutes in. The rain has arrived, so probably won't be long before we're bolting on a set of intermediates. So it might even get towards full wet conditions, but I would just like another session where we could just, you know, not worry about all of this. But yeah, we're going to have to bring both cars in onto those intermediates. Yeah, there we go. Team just confirming that as well, so always good to know that we're on the same page. And yeah, we'll bolt on some inters and we'll send them back. And looks like no one else really wants to take the risk, so we'll give the home crowd something to cheer about on a soggy Friday afternoon. We'll get both cars back out onto the circuit, and, you know, maybe the McLaren fans can wave us on. And Lando Norris apparently not a fan of the car either. Yeah, apparently doesn't feel confident with it at all there, so we'll may as well just leave him out, get a few more laps in, and then once the track starts to dry up, we'll bring them both in, tweak the setups, and we'll go again. Well, that plan's gone completely out the window. We've had to bring both cars back in just to go again, because the circuit's still incredibly wet then. Verstappen fastest, but look at that, Fernando Alonso up in P3. 15th and 16th for us, but to be honest, you know, like I said, we're not in every practice session now. We're telling the drivers to avoid the curbs and stay out of dirty air. So we're just trying to save the engine, all those components. You know, thanks to you guys for always giving me those hints. So yeah, we're always way down on free practice. Lando Norris apparently running wide down at turn 14. Has this been a monumental crasher as he ran slightly over the white lines? Oh, it's cost him dearly. It's free practice one, Crofty, and oh, he hit a curb. How will he ever cope? There we go. 10 minutes left. Lando happy now with the car. Well, I say happy. Lando Norris is never quite happy with the car on F1 Manager, but yeah, the circuit really has taken a long time to dry out. We're going to box now anyway. And obviously get them back out on a set of dries. But yeah, a bit interesting, of course. Why hasn't Lando pit? I don't really know. But luckily Oscar back into the pit lane then, and we'll see how is he getting on with the car. He seems pretty happy with a lot of it. The braking stability needs a lot of work. But everything else, so I mean, we've got two optimals to be fair, and one of them that's very, very close to an optimal. So we're not doing too badly. Well, there we go then. That is going to be the checkered flag here in here in free practice even for the British Grand Prix. They're pretty happy with the times we were able to set there. You know, not far away from the Haas cars. Look like Mick Schumacher is going to be serving some penalties this weekend as well. But yeah, I mean, Fernando Alonso even a long, long way clear of Esteban Ocon there. Alpine certainly still appear to be the midfield team to beat. But, like I said, we're going to try and skip over Q1s now here in this series. We've certainly got a car that will make it into Q2 pretty much every week, unless we get something crazy go on. So, let's get into it, though, see if we can try and get both cars into Q3.
Welcome back to what is proving to be an exciting weekend of Formula One action, with practice having finished and qualifying set to follow. There's very little time to relax, because each and every driver will need to bring their A-game to the track for qualifying. They'll need to push themselves to the limit if they're to be challenging for a strong grid position. You simply never know what you'll see come qualifying. There's not much left to say, so let's get into it.
Welcome all along then to sunny Silverstone, ready for the British Grand Prix. Qualifying day for round 12 of the F1 2022 season. McLaren, after last weekend's fantastic result, their 6th and 7th place come the end of the GP. We're hoping to try and emulate that success here around one of Formula One's most historically backed and favourite circuits. Of course, Silverstone, the home of Formula One, the home of British Motorsport, but it is going to be Australian Oscar Piastri that kicks off McLaren's runs here in Q2 there as he heads down through the flat-out first turn, sweeping his way through the left and the right. Of course, we're going to be monitoring the times between him and his teammate Lando Norris throughout this Q2 session there. We have got a few other cars out on the circuit as well, but you know, we're really worried about what our cars are going to be doing around this circuit there. I think it is going to be Yuki Tsunoda that is going to be the first car to cross over the start-finish line. Tsunoda will set a 1:29.5, but Max Verstappen then in the bigger Red Bull team will, of course, go much quicker than that, a 1:27.985 for the Dutchman there. A fantastic time early on, of course. The Dutchman will just be looking to try and make it through into Q3, still locked into that championship battle, of course, against both of those Ferrari cars there. But Oscar Piastri on this first run, 26.0, actually a 100th of a second up on Lando Norris so far. Maybe, just maybe, those new side pods on Lando Norris's car aren't quite going to give him the extra performance that we'd hoped they would around this very, very high-speed circuit. Of course, could we see McLaren's version of not bad for a number 2 driver this weekend? There is Oscar Piastri again green in Sector 2, 38.8. Lando Norris, though, does go half a tenth faster this time, so there really isn't much to separate the McLaren duo there, as Kevin Magnussen goes third fastest there, again, just 300ths of a second behind Yuki Tsunoda. We should be able to go quicker than the AlphaTauri and the Haas car as we wind our way through the final couple of corners. Oscar Piastri, then, it's been a good lap to ride on board with, and he's going to set a 1:29.2, if I'm not mistaken there. Yes, he does. Lando Norris goes 300th of a second quicker, but we are quicker than the Haas and the AlphaTauri. Well, Oscar Piastri then currently in the drop zone, but Lando Norris right on the cusp as well. We're going to need another couple of flying laps around this circuit because the likes of Valtteri Bottas there certainly have not set a competitive time. Can we try and get at the very least once more one of our cars into Q3? We'll have to wait and see then as well. This time round, right on board with the homeboy Lando Norris as he winds his way once again through those first couple of turns there. 7th gear, flat out as he tries to open up the run in towards the loop there. Of course, one of the only really slow speed sections around this Silverstone circuit. You've got to be super careful on the curb and on the exit there. Oscar Piastri, though, again improves in Sector 1 by just another few hundredths of a second there. Lando Norris, though, will again go even faster. So Lando Norris finding the time. Of course, Sector 1 was where he lost out to his teammate last lap, but this time round, he's gone even quicker there as Charles Leclerc will go fastest at the end of Q2 provisionally. Max Verstappen still waiting to finish his run as Sainz and Perez there in P3 and P4. Hamilton up in P5 with Fernando Alonso splitting the two Mercedes British drivers. Gasly won't improve, stays in P8. Esteban Ocon in P9. There is Tsunoda, Zhou, Magnussen and Bottas all won't improve. So it is all on the McLaren duo here to try and find the time in through the final sector. Oscar Piastri has found more in Sector 2 as well, so he is looking very, very competitive, but Lando Norris is just going quicker. Could we get both cars to knock Esteban Ocon out in Q2 here for the British Grand Prix as Verstappen just goes 3,000ths of a second behind Charles Leclerc at the front of the field there. Piastri will go up into P9. Will Lando Norris be able to improve there and knock Esteban Ocon out in Q2 for the British Grand Prix? Will we see both cars through? It's a 28-0. Yes, we will. Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri into Q3. That's what we like to see there. Both cars making it through for just the second time this year. Is always fine margins around the British GP, but it is both of our cars making it through, like I said, for just the second time this year. Of course, both their home Grand Prix as well, you know. Both cars made it through at Oscar's home Grand Prix. Both cars now make it through in Lando Norris's home Grand Prix. They are only going to get one fresh set of tyres, though, in Q3. So, I mean, if we could try and go quicker than Gasly again, that would be good. Alonso has been mega all weekend, though, so it might be optimistic to try and beat him, but we'll see what happens. Right, well, we have let both cars go out for a banker lap, and you know what? Oscar Piastri still going to set a pretty competitive lap time there. That is going to be only 4/10ths away from George Russell. Only a 10th away from Pierre Gasly as well. Like I said, both cars running on an old set. Will Lando Norris be able to go quicker than his teammate? It's going to be pretty close between them. And Lando Norris quicker than Lewis Hamilton early on in qualifying then here in Q3. We have put all our eggs in the final run basket, though I'm hoping both drivers are able to improve. But yeah, I mean, the Silverstone circuit is coming alive at the moment, and somehow we're in 6th and 8th place. We have got Perez and Leclerc that need to go for a run, but I'm gonna take it. Right, well, Lando Norris is probably our slightly bigger hope this weekend to try and really qualify, fire up the order, but he's going to be interesting to see what Hamilton can do. The pressure all on the Brit as he starts his final lap there. Everyone on their final laps, but Fernando Alonso quicker than both Mercs at the moment there. Sainz and Perez quite a long way off the pace. It really has only been Charles Leclerc that's been able to deliver out of the front runners there. But like I said, we'll monitor the gaps once more before our two cars as Oscar Piastri heads out onto the Wellington Straight. Lando Norris just behind him as well there. Piastri, pretty average sector 1 time there. We've often seen 26 zeros as Lando Norris will do a 26.00 in the other car there. So fantastic effort from Lando through the first sector. I don't know what to look at the moment. There's so much going on here at Silverstone. Alonso won't improve. He will stay in P5 there. Gasly does go quicker but stays in P7. Charles Leclerc still fastest ahead of Max Verstappen, who I think does improve, but nowhere near close enough. Currently, Charles Leclerc is the only driver into the 1 minute 27s here. Carlos Sainz joins him on the front row of the grid here at the British Grand Prix there. Sainz just 1/10 away behind his teammate Hamilton. Will go up into P6 there, but neither Merc still able to go quicker than Fernando Alonso. Max Verstappen has been jumped by his teammate Sergio Perez as well, as our two cars head down in towards the final sector. Lando Norris is improving. He might just be able to get Pierre Gasly here, as Fernando, the Spaniard, seems to absolutely be the world beater early on in this season there. Oscar Piastri rounds out the final corner. It's going to be a 29-1 for the Australian there. Will stay in P10. Lando Norris, though, goes quicker than Pierre Gasly there. P8 on the grid for Lando. We will absolutely take that. Fernando Alonso in another league here. And there we are then having a look at the final results. Charles Leclerc, the only driver, like I said, able to get down into the 27s in every single session there. A 10.5 clear of his teammate Carlos Sainz there at the end of qualifying. But it's both Ferraris, both Red Bulls, then the Alpine ahead of both Mercs. Pierre Gasly's in a McLaren sandwich as well, but both cars into the top 10. Fingers crossed that means both cars can score points here today.
Welcome to race day. And before we get down to it, last minute checks are being made.
McLaren did well during qualifying. They maximized their potential and are in a good position for the race today. Alpha Tauri's qualifying results were in line with the targets set out for the team. They certainly have the potential to achieve a good result here today. And the sun is shining bright here today. This is perfect weather for teams and drivers alike to show us what they're capable of.
Well, we're 52 laps away then from crowning the winner of the British Grand Prix. But one thing is for certain, it's going to be sensational.
Right, well, here we are then, race day here for the British Grand Prix. And of course, like we said, you know, the weather could play a part here today. It's meant to stay dry throughout the first half, and then the rain is meant to appear. So I say we get both cars to go long on a set of hard compound tyres. Do we? I think no, we split the strategies. We'll leave Lando on mediums. We'll get Oscar Piastri to go on hard tyres here today. And I have been told as well that I need to stop putting extra fuel in the car. That'll explain why we keep getting bad starts on F1 22, but it is going to be a bit of a gamble. We have got to wait to try and see when the rain appears, but let's get into it though. It's British Grand Prix time. Maybe another double points finish is on the table.
It's bright and sunny as the drivers line up on the grid. And there's Lando Norris. A top 10 position today, but will they be able to capitalise on it? And it's the other McLaren. They're in the front half of the pack, so there's plenty of potential for them. The race start is mere seconds away. Anticipation is high, and the drivers are ready for this. The British Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Well, looks to be a fairly clean, tidy start by practically everyone on the grid then. We'll have a look, see at the front of the order. Will Charles Leclerc swoop through into turn 1 in the lead? Yes, he will. And Sainz, far more importantly for Ferrari, will hang on to P2 there, as Oscar Piastri immediately trying to make a move on Pierre Gasly at the start of this GP, despite starting on the hard compound tyres, as Lando Norris just in front of him, trying to muscle his way in with the Mercs as well. I mean, really today, I think we've just got to try and break away from those cars behind as early as we can. As look at Lando Norris going for it on Hamilton, who's trying to make a move on George Russell as well there. Fantastic start to the Grand Prix there. Both Mercs going side by side just in front. Gasly will swoop back through on Oscar Piastri as well there, so a bit disappointed that we couldn't keep the place ahead of the AlphaTauri car. But like we said, you know, Oscar Piastri, maybe one of the only cars here starting on the hard compound tyres. Oscar, Bottas, Magnussen, Vettel and Mick Schumacher, the only drivers starting on the hard. So it is going to be a big strategy gamble today, as almost Hamilton Verstappen there through the old Salmon between Piastri and Esteban Ocon, but Lando Norris keep in touch with the Mercs just in front of him early on in this GP. We've got 3 British drivers, 6th, 7th and 8th. It's not quite where we'd want them to be, but it certainly has not been a bad start given the machinery they've got underneath them there, as Lando Norris heads down the hangar straight then. Just looks already like Fernando Alonso starting to cause a bit of a train on the cars behind. Of course, we're just going to expect to see the Ferraris and the Red Bulls waltz away at the front of the field there, but still Esteban Ocon trying to look for a move on Oscar Piastri there as we wind our way through the final couple of corners, but we've kept it clean on the opening lap of the British Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc still leads there ahead of Sainz, Perez, Verstappen. No changes, I'm pretty certain, in anywhere inside the top 10 there. In fact, the whole grid has remained pretty stagnant by the end of lap 1, but we've got a long old race ahead of us. We've just got to try and manage everything, and will it go into Oscar Piastri's favour, or will it stay on Lando Norris's side? Of course, the big question is, when will the rain come? How heavy will the rain be? And what are we going to do about it? Right, DRS enabled then in the Grand Prix as we start lap 3. We've just got to make sure that Piastri stays within the range of Pierre Gasly just up in front of him as we head out onto the Wellington Straight. You can see, luckily, he has got the DRS still, so we'll be hopefully able to keep Esteban Ocon at bay as they try and go side by side down in towards Sector 2, but Piastri will hang on. Like I said, you know, he is going for quite an aggressive strategy. Going to try and go quite far into the GP, so I think just trying to get there in the quickest way possible. You know, whether that means losing a place to Esteban Ocon is going to be, you know, something later on that we might regret, but for now I think is a wise choice from Oscar there, as he's got to try and use Ocon, stick with the Frenchman early on in this GP, as Norris, Gasly and Fernando Alonso still able to give those Mercs a bit of hassle. So you can already see, though, Lando Norris starting to lose touch slightly from those Mercedes here as we start lap 5 of the GP. Luckily, Ocon seems to be no quicker than Oscar Piastri, but Lando Norris, we've just got to play it quite sensible. I mean, oh no, the other drivers aren't really pushing their tyres any more than Lando is, so we haven't even got that to try and fall back on here. We might have him looking in his mirrors quite early on. It does definitely seem to be McLaren versus the French early on in this GP. We've got Gasly and Ocon there, of course, both French drivers that are applying pressure, or, you know, we're locked into battles, but we've just got to keep it clean and tidy. You know, use Gasly if we have to, and like I said, we've just got to play the long game today. That's the key. Oh, someone's binned it, though. Who's ran off? Oh, Mick Schumacher, Lance Stroll, I think have had a coming together there, or Mick Schumacher's definitely out of the Grand Prix, and we have got a safety car then here early on in the British GP. Piastri, I think we've just got to keep out there. We will box Lando Norris, though, early, as gearbox wear slightly high. As what has happened then between Mick Schumacher and Lance Stroll? They've definitely had a coming together. Let's see then. Has Mick Schumacher run into the back of Lance, or what has gone on? As we can just see there, around the outside of Lance Stroll, tries to swoop in, and oh, they just collect each other. And very, very bizarre crash there. Somehow Mick Schumacher's out, but Lance Stroll gets away with it. But Stroll limping back into the pit lane. And our cars have just got to keep going there. Like I said, we'll box Lando Norris, then we'll bring him onto hards. But Piastri will keep out. Where are they going to be once the safety car, everything sorts itself out? Right, well, we have gone for quite a big gamble then on Lando Norris. He's going to be re-emerging then down in P18 in this GP. But he should now also be able to go until the wet period. That means Oscar Piastri is now back into the top 10. It's a big gamble early on here, but of course now we just got to save fuel, save tyres, save battery, everything like that, and wait for it to be green flag racing once more. Oh, okay. Well, safety car coming in then, and it hasn't given Lance Stroll a chance to catch back up in this GP, so that's quite interesting to see, but effectively it's all reset to 0 once more, with the exception of Lando Norris, who's starting right at the rear of the field. But look at this, just the cars all bunched up as we head down in towards the final corner. Charles Leclerc will lead away once more, though. So we're about to start lap 9 of the British GP. Looks like Verstappen slightly offline there behind his teammate Sergio Perez. I'm amazed Red Bull haven't switched those two cars early on off the restart, but Lando Norris already, though. We've got to try and make sure that he moves past the Williams as quickly as possible in this GP. There, as you can just see, tucked up behind Nicholas Latifi through turn 1. Like I said, he is moaning a little bit about some minor gearbox damage. They're down to 39%, so nothing too major to worry about. But yeah, Lando Norris is going to have to work hard then. We'll bring him immediately onto the overtake. Will he be able to get a run on the Williams cars? This is going to immediately be a good test of the straight line speed. There is, of course, no DRS enabled just yet in the Grand Prix, but look at that, clean around the outside of Latifi as we head down towards Luffield, if I remember correctly, through the next flowing section of corners, and we will swoop through, and we will bring it then back down into the neutral deployment mode. You've got to be really, really careful with where you're using the battery around here. So again, one lap later then, luckily we'll have been able to save up most of that battery once more. As I mean, yeah, really the back market cars, you know, the Williams, the Aston Martins, shouldn't really have too much issue getting around. Of course, we know how quick Albon can be in that Williams there. Is just keeping a watchful eye over Oscar Piastri as well. Make sure he's not dropping too far back behind the other cars. What is the grip level? I'd better just quickly bring Lando Norris back down again. Track, though, is once it goes to intermediates, it is basically meant to stay there to the end, but it's only going to get wet towards lap 30. So it is going to be a long old distance before we get to that wet period. But hopefully, I mean, now both cars should be able to make it there. We've just got to hope that nobody else can. As looking at the tyre data, yeah, it'll be tight between a lot of the AI. Maybe some of the other hard compound runners could do it. So we'd like to be back ahead of them. As here goes Lando Norris then on Alex Albon down the back straight. Will he be able to make a move stick? No. He's going to sit behind him once more. Oh, Lando Norris then is now pulling off the move on Alex Albon as they head in towards the loop there. Interesting place to try and make the overtake happen, as we've just got to be a bit careful as well. Oscar Piastri under increasing pressure from Zhou Guanyu and out of the DRS of the cars in front of him. How did Lando pull this one off? Then round the outside through turn 1. Of course, Albon, born and raised in the UK, but racing under a Thai licence, and Lando Norris there, his former GP2 rival, swept past cleanly. Come on then, Lando. Oh, he's already pulled off the move. I was just about to get him to push on again, but he has gone right around the outside of Sebastian Vettel, so you know what, we will get him to push on anyway, as lap 14 of 52 here, almost, well, already, sorry, at 1/4 race distance in this GP. Luckily, Zhou Guanyu has dropped out of the DRS behind Oscar Piastri there, but Lando Norris still doing a very good job early on. Like I said, he is really just waiting and seeing whether any of the AI can also go to the wet period. Here we go. Oscar Piastri has entered the pit window, but still nowhere near ready to box just yet, as Verstappen's nightmare of a weekend continues. Running wide. Oh, he'd actually moved past his teammate Sergio Perez there, and an uncommon error from the Dutchman. But yeah, Norris now has caught up to the back of Kevin Magnussen, who's really kind of in this little bit of a train up towards Oscar Piastri there. The gaps are opening up though, so fingers crossed Lando can try and shift past these guys one by one, as Magnussen barely hanging on to the DRS of Valtteri Bottas in front of him. Lap 20 almost of this 52 lap GP. It is flying by early on, but we've got to hope the strategy comes towards us. So here we go then. Are we going to be able to get a run on Kevin Magnussen down the back straight? We're going to use the overtake mode on the battery. Are we going to be able to have a look to the inside? Come on, Lando, you got to send it there, mate. Not able to pull it off this time. So around the outside this time around Kevin Magnussen. He's going to keep the nose there through Luffield. Will we now be able to swoop through on the Dane? Looks like we will. We'll have the inside in towards the old turn 1 as well there. As you can see, Yuki Tsunoda, Valtteri Bottas still locked into battle. Really has not been Alfa Romeo's weekend here. They have really struggled for pace, especially Valtteri Bottas. They're slower than Zhou Guanyu in qualifying. Didn't quite get the laps hooked up as he would have wanted. But really, you know, our still battle remains with the likes of Fernando Alonso in this GP. It's the Alpine car there, not much quicker than ours, so we can definitely still try to apply some pressure. As Kevin Magnussen trying to come back at Lando Norris, we should be able to live to fight another day. So here we go then, round the outside of Valtteri Bottas. Not quite again able to make the move work is Lando. There we go, now he's done it. Lando Norris then, I think, has done the same move as he did on Kevin Magnussen just a couple of laps prior. It's not an orthodox move around this British Grand Prix circuit. He is just kind of muscling his way to the inside through Luffield there, but it's working for him, and he's up another spot. So here we go then. Yuki Tsunoda in the AlphaTauri. We're going to put him up into rich revs, the overtake mode, everything like that. And of course he will have the DRS where Yuki won't. So this one should be one of the easiest moves we've pulled off so far in the GP. Lando Norris swoops down the inside, down the Wellington Straight. He'll now be back up into P12 of this GP. They're only about 5 seconds behind his teammate Oscar Piastri, but the rain is getting closer. But still, no one else opting to box there. Tyre wear getting down towards the 50%, so it is going to be tight. Whether the AI know as well, and they're just going to try and hang out there. So I've got to chuckle. Lance Stroll a minute behind Latifi here. Oh, big shunt apparently somewhere. Oh, we've got one of the Alpines off. It's Fernando Alonso. He's locked up down at turn 14. What's gone on then for Fernando? He's just ran wide by himself. And not too sure how he's done that. Where's his multi-car pilot part of it? Does he? No, he doesn't collect Hamilton. Does he just sit on the apex through the final couple of turns? I'm a bit lost as to what's going on there, as Russell's made it through. Where has this multiple collision happened in all of this? We've got a... No, this is a lap afterwards? I've got no idea what's going on. No, he... Oh, no! He collects Esteban Ocon a lap after. So that's what's gone on then. Ocon has been bumped down the... No, where is Ocon? Yeah, Ocon's been bumped down the order then massively into P15. He's having to do an entire lap without his front wing there. And he's picked up a penalty for it as well. So he must have collected Fernando Alonso then, sorry, in this GP. But Alpine having an absolute disaster. Oscar Piastri now has got a golden opportunity to move past Fernando in this GP. As we'll try and make a move work around the outside of the Spaniard. No, Fernando Alonso is going to cover off that one. But suddenly, yeah, this race has been a bit turned on its head just before the wet period. And now Oscar Piastri has got to try and move past Fernando as light rain on the radar. It is getting, well, potentially about to get quite slippery then around this Silverstone circuit. So can we go around the outside down towards the old turn one there? Oscar Piastri clean around the outside of Fernando Alonso. He will swoop through there. A brave overtake to make. But he is now up into P8 then of the Grand Prix. He's got to try and push away though from Fernando. And we've now kind of got to hope that this rain stays out for a few more laps until after the AI all pit. Right, okay. Lap 27 then. Rain on the radar as we can see Lando Norris trying to have a look around Zhou Guanyu as well. But it doesn't look like anyone else is going to pit in this GP. So it hasn't worked out particularly well for Lando Norris there. We've just got to hope the rain sort of stays out. Although it is getting wetter and wetter. I say we box Lando Norris in now in this GP. Bring him over onto a fresh set of the intermediate compounded tyres as the track is getting very damp very quickly. We're going to have to box both cars, I reckon. Pit this lap then for both Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. Of course, once it gets over 1 mil, you are going to start losing time on the dry compounded tyres. And by the time we're down in towards Sector 3, Gasly is already peeling into the pit lane then. So this was absolutely the right time to make the call there. Zhou Guanyu's opting to stay out though, so no one really knows what's going on at the moment there. As Oscar Piastri, we've got to pray that he gets a nice clean pit stop there. We've got some cars staying out, some cars coming in this GP there. But could we try and get a bit closer to the Mercs further up the road there? I think it's a bit optimistic to really believe that we could be battling them. I mean, really, our focus should be on Pierre Gasly there. But textbook stop for one car, 2.4 seconds. Lando Norris, 2.6. He will get held up slightly, I think, behind the likes of Bottas and Kevin Magnussen there. But not too shabby a pit stop either way. As now Piastri then will still re-emerge in 10th place. But surely we're going to be taking a lot of time out of the front runners. There is Charles Leclerc not struggling too badly. The track doesn't seem to have got too wet too quickly, but it is definitely getting wetter. As Charles Leclerc's not pitting again. Oh, the track is staying between the wet and the dry compound tyres then, so no one really knows what's going on with the tyre strategy at the moment. But Sainz is in, Leclerc stayed out, Red Bull have also split their cars, Max Verstappen's in. What on earth is going to happen here then? It really is just a very brief shower, and then is it meant to dry out again? No one really knows what's going to happen with the grip levels. Here we go. A couple of laps later than it hasn't taken long. And I think now everyone onto the intermediate compounded tyres there. So a minor panic for us for just a brief moment. But we have made the right call onto those intermediates there. Looks like the field was also spread out quite a bit because of it. Piastri there 4 seconds ahead of Lando Norris, but Gasly now in between the Mercs in this GP, so I think we've got to try and push on and get a bit closer to Pierre. But yeah, we've both got to try and get the cars to work together. We're just over 15 laps to go then. George Russell has closed in this gap on Pierre Gasly here, but I was kind of hoping the rain would spice things up a bit. If anything, it's kind of calmed down this GP. I guess the only real thing we can talk about is Alonso and Ocon. Of course, their collision really did damage both cars because it meant they both had to pit before the intermediates, so everyone effectively got a free stop over them. So yeah, Alpine looks like they aren't going to be a threat this weekend, as now Oscar Piastri just complaining about minor gearbox wear, so we are going to have to serve some grid penalties potentially in the near future. But both cars inside the top 10. We've just got to hope that Russell can move past Pierre Gasly there, and then maybe the AlphaTauri car can lose some time towards the end of this GP. But 15 laps to go. We're sitting quite pretty at the moment. It has really calmed down here as Leclerc trying to close in on Carlos Sainz still at the front. That might be a battle to watch out for. Now Alpine's afternoon just goes from bad to worse as Esteban Ocon then heading through Luffield. Alpine really have been the class of the midfield so far this year. Crofty clearly loving that spin, as I'm sure one of the Red Bulls had a bit of a scare, but yeah, still just monitoring all the gaps around at the moment. There is no car, except for Charles Leclerc, that is within a second of the car in front. Russell can't seem to move past Pierre Gasly, and we're just not really closing in on him either. The rain is still getting heavier, but I don't think it's really going to change all too much between now and the end. And this, of course, is sometimes the problem you find in Formula 1 when you do get a wet period and then the track not quite drying out, but isn't getting any wetter, is just the fact that, of course, then there's just one dry line. No one is brave enough to go off that line because, of course, you're just going to cost yourself time. So you kind of just find everyone line astern. No one really wants to do anything, as Lance Stroll is 2.5 minutes behind anyone else in this GP. That is quite impressive. He's 2 laps down on Nicholas Latifi. You may as well just give up, mate. Right, well, Carlos Sainz then starting the last lap of the British Grand Prix, but it really has been a bit of a weird one here from Silverstone. You'd think changeable conditions, British Grand Prix, it's going to be absolute action from start to finish. And honestly, today it's been quite a dull GP here from the home of British Motorsport there. Sainz, he's still got a 1 second lead over Charles Leclerc there. Leclerc has taken fastest lap bonus point though, so it will be a 6-point swing in the Spaniard's favour, of course, doing the championship challenge that we never quite saw from him in real life 2022. There, Max Verstappen looks like he's going to come through for P3. I don't think Lando Norris is going to get close enough to Oscar Piastri, so I mean, yeah, we are going to get a not bad for a number 2 driver this weekend from Oscar there, of course, because Lando Norris got the new upgrades and Piastri, you know, he had the slightly better strategy in the end, didn't he? We took the gamble with Lando Norris. We wanted to make sure that he didn't have to box before the wet period, but sadly, every other car was able to as well there. But, you know, I think Oscar Piastri, you know, he needs that little bit of a confidence boost there, and 6 points as well will certainly not do us any damage in the championship. Bit gutted that Russell can't seem to find a way around the AlphaTauri of Pierre Gasly further up the road, but Carlos Sainz then, just like he did in real life 2022, rounds the final couple of corners. He is going to win the British Grand Prix here at Silverstone. His teammate Charles Leclerc will come through in P2. Not really worried about the heavy rain, I'll be honest there, with haze as we head out through. You can see Charles Leclerc P2, Max Verstappen will across the line in a P3 there, so it is a very, very typical podium here on F1 Manager as well. Russell then still trying to apply pressure to Pierre Gasly, but nothing quite going to happen late on in the day. There is, yeah, Oscar Piastri clearly still the tyre shredder in Formula 1. You can see his tyres are much more worn than anyone else. Not sure why Albon and Vettel have decided to pit again, but, you know, each to their own, I suppose, as we wind our way in through the final few turns. Then Hamilton will come through for P5 there. Pierre Gasly, I've got to be honest, is my driver of the day in P6 ahead of Russell. And then, yeah, Oscar Piastri will come through for P8 there. So, place is gained. We are going to actually make progress as a team, of course. 8th and 10th on the grid to 8th and 9th in the GP. It's not quite the heroics of last weekend at Canada, but it is more double points on the board there. We got a bit lucky with the Alpine implosion, but you got to be there to try and capitalise on it at the end of the day. Bottas will come through behind, but it's another double points finish here at Silverstone. We cannot complain about that.
It was such a joy to watch McLaren's driver give it their all. fantastic result for McLaren there.
Indeed, the team has demonstrated technical skill as well as a great deal of heart. They can be really proud of their efforts this weekend.
After the race, they sit in 7th place in the constructor standings.
Next time, the teams will be forging ahead at full throttle through the Styrian forest. The Austrian Grand Prix is right around the corner.
Right, well, there we go then, the end of the British Grand Prix, and yet both Ferraris swapping places, both Red Bulls swapping places over the course of the afternoon there. Only George Russell in the top 10 started and finished in the same place there. But like I said, Gasly, my driver of the day there, 9th to 6th in the end, able to keep George Russell at bay right the way throughout that one. Oscar Piastri does finish that ahead of Lando Norris. You can see Bottas rounding out our top 10 there, with Stroll 3 laps down, Mick Schumacher the only car not to make it to the checkered flag. But that means the gap at the top of the table opens back up to 9 points then for Carlos Sainz. Max Verstappen now another 8 points behind Charles Leclerc in P3. Perez still sat in a very, very lonely P4 there ahead of Hamilton and George Russell there. Those points though for Lando Norris just brings him a bit further ahead of Ocon and Kevin Magnussen there, and Oscar Piastri, you know, he could easily get into P11 over the next few weekends if things go his way. We've just got to keep trying to close up on the Alpines and the Alfa Romeos there. No other movers though further down the rostrum. Constructors wise though, Ferrari now with a 75 point lead over Red Bull. Mercedes in a very lonely P3. Alpine, I think that's their first weekend this year unable to score points there, but sadly because of AlphaTauri's fantastic weekend, we do lose a bit of ground to the Italian based outfit there. Both of us closing in though on Alfa Romeo as well. That's going to be quite a big battle to watch out for, I think, over the next few weekends. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well, and we'll be back very, very soon with more of our F1 Manager career mode. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.